This is Top Shop Podcast.
Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
Hey, Top Shop Podcast listeners, got another great guest, another person with 4 decades in the industry, Frank Casale. He is the vice president at of Flo Dynamics, which is Flo Dynamics bought G-Tech. It's a the big company, the big 300-pound elephant in the room is Norco Industries, and there's 7 different divisions, and you're the vice president of one of those divisions, which is Flo Dynamics, correct?
Correct.
Right. So tell me about, let's start from the beginning. When were you born? No. How did you get into repair after
automotive market?
Yeah.
So my first job out of college was working for a construction company, actually building a military air base over in Israel. Had to do with the Camp David Peace Accord stuff. I worked out in New York City. But it was a temporary job. Once the project was done, everybody was let go. So I went from there to another construction company. And then from there, I got an opportunity to work for a tool and equipment warehouse called Eastern Tool Warehouse in Caldwell, New Jersey. I started off as a buyer, moved into sales. When I left the company, moved into sales. And then I did sales and marketing. I've done, had my own rep agency, worked for other rep agencies, worked in the body shop industry for 3 years, went to work for White Industries back in early 90s. That lasted a short period of time because they ended up filing bankruptcy. Long story, too long to go into now. But I still worked for them as a regional manager on a consultant basis. Started my own rep agency. Eventually, that company was sold to Snap-on, and I got hired by them as a marketing manager. Worked for them. They moved that organization down to Conway, Arkansas. My family was having a tough time adjusting from New Jersey to Indiana, and there was no way that I was going to be able to convince them to move down to Arkansas. So I ended up leaving that company to work for Flo Dynamics, and that was back in 2004.
Oh, okay.
I've been with Flo Dynamics since
20 years. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about Flo Dynamics. What is Flo Dynamics in G-Tech?
So Flo Dynamics started back in mid-90s. We bought a patent from a guy named Tony Parker. He invented the transmission fluid exchange machine.
Okay, he invented that. Okay.
He invented that. We bought the patent from him, and then we modified the unit, made it more sellable. And over the years, it grew. We got OE approvals early on that we still have today. I mean, we're approved by Ford, Mercedes-Benz, GM, and a few others. And we're the only company that has both national and international approval.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When I came on board, they had 2 products. They had transmission machine and power steering machines.
Okay.
So when I came on board, I brought an idea for a coolant machine, which we sold to Pep Boys back in 2004 for all their locations. It was very unique at the time. It was an engine off process. You could do a quick vacuum fill. You can do a full flush with the machine. There was nothing like it on the market. And today, Pep Boy still buys those machines, and we still have some of the original ones still in works at their locations.
Okay.
So over the years, I helped bring in, besides coolant machine, brake machine, differential machine, what am I forgetting? Power steering, transmission, coolant, brake, differential machines. And then we've expanded in the heavy duty market. We already have a national approval on our national chain approval on our coolant machine. We also have OE approval from Allison Transmission on one of the G-Tech machines.
Sure, Allison. That's the big name in the
Yeah,
team.
that's a pretty good, stamp of approval.
Yeah, that's a big feather in the cap.
Yeah, so over the years, when I first started, one customer represented about 95% of our business, and today we don't have a customer over 20% of
Okay.
our business.
Okay.
So we've expanded our distribution, we've expanded the product line. We're into heavy duty, we're into the repair side, and Flo Dynamics primarily is on the fluid maintenance side.
Okay. So Flow Dynamics is fluid change machines for just about everything now. You started with
Yes, yeah.
everything.
We're,
Now,
we're even modifying some of our machines or adapters so that they can work on the electric vehicles.
okay. All right. So that was one of the questions I was going to have for you. What are the changes that you're seeing in the industry? So now your company doesn't work directly with the auto repair shop owner. Is that correct? The auto
That
repair
is correct.
gets your product through who?
So we go through a lot of different type of distributors. We'll go through some chemical houses. We'll go through the mobile distributors. We'll go through equipment specialists around the country. So it's a broad spectrum of type of distributors that we go through.
Okay. All right. So now, if the auto repair shop owner wants to get information on your specific products, can they just go to the website?
They can absolutely go to the website. It's www.flow, FLODYNAMICS. So there's no W in the word
W.
flow.
Yep. Okay.
And they can get all kind of information there. There's videos, there's quick tips, there's quick instruction guides, there's contact information, service center information. We use service reps, local service reps around the country. They can get the name of the local guy in their area, or they can just contact us directly.
Okay.
And we'll help them out.
There's a good chance that a lot of the listeners already have one of your products in their shop.
That's a good possibility. We've been around a long time. We're probably, as far as equipment only on the fluid maintenance side. I mean, there's companies like Robinair that has, their primary business is AC.
Right.
But they do have a transmission machine. There's companies like CPS that their primary business is AC, even though they have the motor back line. I can honestly say that we are the largest equipment manufacturer that doesn't also sell chemicals, because there's somebody like a BG that their primary business is chemicals, but they have their own equipment. We're probably the most successful, most recognized equipment manufacturer in the fluid maintenance side of the business.
Okay, awesome. So let me ask you, you brought up the EVs. What are the changes that you're seeing that are going to be the auto repair shop owner will be facing in the next 10 years in fluid exchange?
Well, there's not going to be transmission fluid.
Right.
It's going to be electric or hybrids seems to be the direction that they're going. However, the batteries have to be cooled. Some may use air conditioning, like refrigerant, to cool the batteries.
Mhm.
Some will use antifreeze coolant.
Okay.
So that coolant will still need to be serviced. However, today's automobile, you're looking at 15 to 20 pounds of pressure in that system. In an EV, the pressure is going to be somewhere between 5 and 10. So rather than have to buy a different machine to service it, we've come up with an adapter that'll reduce the pressure of the machine so that you can dial it down to service an EV vehicle.
Okay.
One of the other things that we came up with is, and we are approved by Ford, is that the battery chamber has to be checked to make sure it's not compromised. You hit a pothole, you hit a curb, that battery chamber or battery is within a chamber, and it's got to remain sealed, otherwise water can get in there and destroy the battery, destroy the vehicle. So we have a tester. It's a non-smoke, non-vapor tester, It only pressurizes up to about a half a pound, but it has a little gauge on it. It has a little ball that goes up and down. If there's any leak at all, that ball will not go down to the bottom.
Mm.
That's the first test to see if that flow ball will go all the way down to the bottom. If it does, then the chamber is good. If it doesn't, it has a leak somewhere, and there's no repair procedure yet for repairing that chamber that the batteries are in. So it has to be replaced. The second test would be if you're not sure, you can turn a knob and it'll see if it holds pressure. If it drops pressure, again, you got a leak. So there's two ways to test that to make sure that it's not compromised. What we also did was say, well, that's kind of a, it's not an expensive machine. It's under $1,000. But how often you're going to use it? However, what we found is every AC hybrid that you service, you have to wear special insulated gloves. And what we found was these insulated gloves, the way to test it would be you have this little, ball or oval or round device, put the glove on it, pump it up, and stick it in water to see if there's any bubbles. Well, now you have a glove that's wet that you have to dry off, and hopefully the tech would grab a clean rag versus a dirty rag and compromise the glove. And this test is required every time you use the gloves. Another test was, or a way to test, was people would roll up from the sleeves, roll it up, almost like you're making lasagna, rolling it up. And half the glove would be covered up. So if it had a leak, you wouldn't find it. So what we came up with is an adapter for our tester for the battery chamber. And it comes in two different sizes. So depending on the sleeve, you just hook it on there, put the glove on there, stick the hose into the adapter. And within seconds, you'll be able to tell whether that glove is good or not.
Mm.
If you're talking with the voltage, that could mean the difference of life and death. So we came up with this adapter that we have some of the OEs looking at it now to see whether they're going to approve it and put it in their program.
Oh, that's great news. Okay, good.
Yeah. So that's another RV, or EV product that we have as it changes. Right now, the average age of a car is 12 years old. The sales of electric vehicles is still under 10%. So you're going to have, vehicles for 12, 15 plus years. They're going to need, fluid change in the oil, the transmission fluid, the brake fluid, the power steering, and so forth. So we don't expect major changes over the years. And what will happen is the amount of cats that are feeding on the mice will reduce because there'll be less mice and less food for the cats. And companies like ourselves that are more versatile will stay in business.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you guys got a really good long-term strategy. Well, you've already been around a long time, and
Yeah.
there's a reason for that, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So the changes. So we're at 10% right now. So as we move into the future, I'm not sure where we're going to go with the EV thing, or we'll see where it goes. The consumer are buying these vehicles. I know that they're an environmental nightmare. They're much worse than an internal combustion engine vehicle.
Yes.
They require the expenditure of more carbon just putting it on the lot
Yeah.
of all the mining and the shipping and everything than an internal combustion car over the life of the car. So anyway, and then we have the issue of what are we going to do with these poisonous batteries in a decade.
The infrastructure is just not designed for electric vehicles. We've heard so many nightmares of, perfect example, there was a dealership or OE putting a new dealership in Miami. and they wanted to put in a battery charger in each bay. They wanted to put a couple in their showroom, and they want to put a couple outside so that their customers can drive up and charge their electric vehicles. The city of Miami says they can't handle that kind of electricity to that location, and therefore had to eliminate all the one electric chargers inside the bays and cut the showroom and outside by half.
Wow.
So the infrastructure is just not there, and I've heard other stories the same thing. Matter of fact, there was we were at a truck show, and somebody had bought or ordered these electric trucks, 18-wheelers.
Mm-hmm.
Found out that the kilowatt required to charge all these trucks was more than actually the manufacturer had for who built the trucks. So they couldn't handle it, and this was up in the Chicago area, and they said they couldn't handle electricity, so they canceled the order.
Yeah.
So until that infrastructure gets corrected, I could see hybrids, but I just can't see electric vehicles in the future. All electric.
Only electric vehicles. Yeah, same here because I'm people think, I'm green because I'm driving around an electric vehicle. Well,
yeah.
it's not green as in like grass and tree leaves. It's green as in money, because it's everyone there because they're making money off it. And then how much? And that's just like I said. The research shows that the carbon footprint is much worse than a traditional vehicle, but that's not even taking into what we have to do to get the electricity to charge it over the next year.
Yes. Yeah.
That's just all the mining and the manufacturing process that it takes to get there. So, I'm not sure what other questions to ask a fluid exchange company.
So one of the things that we discuss with when working with the shops and stuff, there's two type of shop owners out there. Ones that are strictly price; they don't want to pay more than they have to for anything, and it's not different than you can look at baseball. You got teams like the Dodgers that willing to spend everything, and then you got teams like the Oakland A's or Pittsburgh Pirates. They just can't afford to pay that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at trying to get the cheapest guys they can. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Moneyball, but that was an interesting movie way back when. The shops are kind of the same way. There's guys in there that just want the cheapest thing. They don't care if it's a throwaway. They'll use it for a period of time and then buy another one. Then there's other companies that look at quality. They realize if that machine is down, they're losing money. And that's where we've went way ahead of everybody else in our segment of the business, is because the chemical guys know that if they put our equipment in there, it's going to last. It's going to work out of the box. It's going to continue to work. And when that machine is working, the chemical guys are making money selling chemicals. So that's where we're headed. We've never been the cheapest guys on the block. We've always been on the higher end, but our equipment lasts. As I mentioned earlier, Pep Boy still has some of our original cooler machines from 2004.
Wow. 20
still in
years in
service.
operation, still in service.
Yeah.
Pep Boys does.
Yeah.
So what sort of a warranty does your company offer on its products?
So we offer a 1-year parts and labor warranty on all our equipment.
Okay.
All our equipment is function tested 100% before it leaves the factory.
Sure.
The person who does the testing, he's been with the company almost 20 years now. The production manager has been with the company 25 years. Most of the people in the production department are 12, 15 years with the company. So they all know how to make the equipment. They all know how to test the equipment. They all know what's expected as far as before it leaves the door. Our warranty rate is less than 1%. Our out of the box failure is well less than 1%.
Wow. Okay.
So that's another thing is the quality and the service. I had an old boss that told me, he says, you got price, you got quality, and you got service. Pick two. You're not getting all three.
All right, yeah. That was an interesting one. I haven't heard that one before. So,
Yeah.
as we move, now, what about is there any time advantage? Like, do your fluid exchange machines, do they work at the same speed as your competitors? Or is there any advantage to the auto repair shop owner, purchasing a Flow Dynamic over a competitor product?
But we try to make the equipment user friendly because there's always a change in personnel at the shop. So we make it first user friendly. We have these quick start guides that have a lot of pictures, little text on it, so somebody can look at it. There's videos available. On the transmission machine, there's two ways to do the service. One is an inline, and we do a really good job of keeping up with adapters, so the person can do, besides the older vehicles and newer vehicles, opening up the lines, connecting it, and doing an inline service with the transmission machine. A lot of guys like doing a dipstick. If the vehicle has a dipstick, they can put the tube down the dipstick, do a service. We are by far, when it comes to dipstick service, we are by far the fastest.
Okay.
So on the quick lube side, if they have people coming in, they want to get those cars in and out of there as fast as possible. Typically in 70-degree weather, you're going to do a dipstick service, a 16 quart exchange in about 10 to 12 minutes.
Wow. Time's money.
Where our competition is probably anywhere from 17 to 24 minutes, depending on which manufacturer. So if you're in a quick lube, we could do two cars to the time it takes them to do one.
Wow.
So that's very important. If you're doing a dipstick service inline, we're all going to be about the same because we all depend on the vehicle's pump to pump fluid into the machine, while we're using our pump to pump fluid back into the vehicle at the same time. Okay. And this way you're getting that one-for-one exchange. It's very fast, very efficient. And like I said, we have quite a few OE approvals on that process.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about Norco, because Flowtech is only one division of Norco.
Flo Dynamics is one division. So Norco started out 50 something years ago, maybe 55, 56 years ago, importing and selling domestic floor jacks, engine stands, bottle jacks, all that stuff, lifting equipment, portable lifting equipment. And over the years, and that was started by Andy Tallman, who's second generation. It was started by his father. Andy came into the business to help out and built the company, bought out his father years ago. And over the years, added companies like Flo Dynamics. There's 4 divisions in the RV. BAL is one of them, and they make trailer frames, roof bows, slide out mechanisms, leveling devices, all this stuff for the RV industry. And then we have a company called Adnick. Their division makes seat frames for military, school buses. We don't do any upholstery. We just do the metal, frame of it. Mm-hmm. Then we have our own paint line company called Norcoat, and they do e-coat, powder coating, not only for what's in our house, but also on the outside. And then there's a tool division called Nortool, and they kind of support Adnick and BAL with dies and stuff. Then we have another division called Freedom. They're on the industrial side with these hydraulic cylinders for either new or replacement. And that between Flo and Norco, there's the automotive. Then we have the 4 RV, and then the 1 industrial. So that makes up the divisions. We probably have somewhere around 800,000 square feet of manufacturing facility in Elkhart, Indiana, which is where our equipment is made. We also have corporate headquarters is in Compton, California, which I told is on the correct side or the better side of the highway.
Okay.
Uh, so that's our corporate headquarters. That's where it started, but all the production for all the other divisions is in Elkhart.
It's in Elkhart. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Right.
And one last thing, so Andy was really the main guy that got everything going.
Mhm.
Over the past couple of years, he's transitioning the company to his son Michael. So we're on third generation of the company.
Third generation and growing, obviously.
Yes.
Acquired seven different divisions. So,
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about AMRA, the Automotive Maintenance Repair Association, where I met you at the conference here
Yep.
in January last month in Orlando.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that real quick, because a lot of auto repair shop owners really don't know about MAP, the Motorist Assurance
Okay.
Program, which is a set of standards that all shops can follow for parts and fluid replacements based on recommendations and research from the industries themselves. And the big advantage to an auto repair shop owner joining AMRA and MAP, which is $200 a year, it's absolutely ridiculous how low that
Yeah.
membership fee is. Because to be able to say, sir, ma'am, we're a motorist assurance program shop, and based on the motorist assurance program recommendations, this fluid should have been changed at this interval, or we just did a test on it and you have corrosion in your brake line or something, or et cetera. So it's that third party that Joe's Auto Repair is not recommending that you get this done. The Motorist Assurance Program is recommending that you get this done because it was based on the manufacturer's recommendations. That third party helps the usage of that third party as, hey, it's not me that's saying it, it's the manufacturer, it's the person who makes the part, it's them saying that this needs to be done. These brake pads need to be replaced or whatever. That helps them boost their sales, because then people aren't thinking, well, he's not telling me it needs done. Some other motorist assurance program, they named it very well, that says
Yes.
it's done. So just real quick, what is your experience with AMRA? How long have you been a member?
So I've been a member probably early to mid 2000
Okay,
time frame.
almost 25 years. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So uh, how I found out about them is someone that worked for our company was already affiliated with them and brought our company in there. And the information that they provide is such a valuable information at the different levels. As you mentioned, the shop, you can have 10 guys look at a battery, test a battery, and come up with, half of them think it should be replaced and half of them think it's okay. Motorist Assurance Program, what they've done is they do the research, they do the checking, and they come up with, okay, if it reaches this level of testing, it's okay. If it doesn't, it needs to be replaced, or it's recommended to suggest a replacement. And that verbiage that they created will help that shop keep out of legal situations. And unfortunately, in today's world, anything that happens, that's the first thing people do is they call the lawyer versus really researching it and stuff. So the Motorist Assurance Program at the shop, they have a lot of technical information that's available to any members. They have, I believe, at the last conference, they even mentioned that some people have where they will help you with scan tools and checking out for free or minimal price rather than have to buy a whole scan tool. I think there was mention that they'll even lend you one for a short period of time if someone needs it. So they help the shop out as best they can. They're involved in students, getting them trained properly, getting them equipment. So it's not just here, here's a fee, here's the membership. They do a lot more and go beyond what, really, what's the word I'm looking for? They go beyond the call of duty, so to speak.
Right.
If I was a shop owner, I would definitely get involved in their program. And if a customer comes in, there's going to be some doubt with that customer if it's a newer customer. And if you provide the information and say, okay, this is the insurance program, these are some of the members, and you can go through the whole list, whether it's a Pep Boys, all the national providers are members.
Yep.
Along with us manufacturers. So they have a lot of test data behind them. It'll help their shop, especially if a guy's guessing. They'll make sure that the guy's torquing the lug nuts correctly so that wheel doesn't come flying off and you're involved in a lawsuit. Extremely valuable at not only our level as the manufacturer, but more importantly, the shop.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Thanks, Frank. Really appreciate your time today. So look forward to seeing you at future MAP conferences. So
yeah.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shop.